Hello, we are live. Awesome. Welcome to Whiskey, Wine, and Writing, guys. My name is Suzanne Samin, and this is my lovely co-host,
Wicker. Hello. We're talking tonight about the differences between, not so much the difference, we're just talking about self-publishing and traditional publishing, the different routes that you can take, the benefits of each, the drawbacks of each. And Suzanne goes the traditional route, and I am self-published, doing all right, getting, successfully so at the moment, which is good. So we're going to talk a little bit about that.
Yep. So I am, as Wicker said, I am going through the traditional publishing process. I'm currently knee-deep in querying, so I don't have an agent or a fancy book deal yet. It'll happen eventually, I'm convinced, but yeah, it's it's an interesting ride. I think it's the publishing system that we're all most familiar with, especially people in the online writing community who like follow Brenda Drake and all the fun competitions. A lot of that is very focused on traditional publishing, and it's, when you look at the two, I mean, traditional publishing has several steps, but also self-publishing does as well. I think the difference is that traditional publishing requires more people initially. You need an agent, and then that agent needs to talk to an editor, and so on and so forth. And it can be really frustrating because a lot of it is not in your hands. It's a lot of waiting on other people to like review your material and respond to you. And I think that's probably the most agonizing part, is just like waiting for other people's approval, because you've let your baby out into the world and you want it to be a beautiful, shiny, sparkly butterfly. And you have to convince a whole lot of people that it is a sparkly butterfly. So yeah, I don't know. Emma, do you want to talk about your, some of the trials and tribulations of self-publishing?
I do. So you just mentioned that like there's a lot of people sort of afterwards, once you've written your book, there's a lot of people that you have to go through afterwards, the editors, the agents and all that. Whereas with self-publishing, a lot of that sort of all happens, yes, once you've written your book, but it all sort of happens at the same time. So once you've written, you've got to find a good editor to go through it and make sure that it's all right. But before that, you've got to have your beta readers, your critique partners. There's so much that needs to be done before you can set out into the world, but you completely skip the process where you're querying. So that means you're completely skipping writing a query, writing a synopsis. All of that is not there. So that is maybe a benefit. I think it's probably beneficial to have a synopsis anyways. I'm a hypocrite because I can't write them. I suck. But it is beneficial because it means that you know your story. Whereas, like when I tried to write my synopsis very soon after writing my book, it was a complete mess. Because it's like I didn't know myself in my head yet what was going on, what the main threads of the story were. So that's why it's really important to have those other people around you that can help you sort of pull it all together and say, yeah, all right, that does happen in your book, but it's not a focal point. This is your focal point. Focus on that. So to write a synopsis is helpful in that regard, but also I didn't write one. I don't like writing them. I'm probably never going to write one unless I decide to query eventually. So then once you've written your book, you've got your editor, you've got all the people that have helped you fix it, you've layered it, you've got it all ready, it's all pretty cover. Then you have to set it out in the world, and that honestly is where the majority of the hard work comes in. So writing a book, yeah, it's hard, but the marketing is one of the biggest hurdles that I face because I'm not very good at it, or I wasn't very good at it. I'm pretty good at it now, but I wasn't good at it. Suzanne, I've heard that now in traditional, a lot of the marketing is done with, is partly the author is partly responsible for that now. Do you know anything more about that?
Yeah, sure. So, I think it's pretty common knowledge that the recessions, particularly in the United States, because we have an international show today, has affected publishing in like a really awful way, in the sense that publishing houses have had to like lay off a lot of people and save a lot of money. And so what that means is that back in the day, like you just wrote a book and you sent it off, and then your publishing house edit it for you. They pick the cover art. They did all the marketing, and they scheduled all your tours and so on and so forth. And now that is, that's a little bit less because there are less people at these houses to do that for you. So the onus really ends up on the writer to, especially now with social media and the fact that, we can access our fans and everything within 5 seconds. It's put a lot more responsibility on authors to do all of that. So if not knowing how to market is something that you're afraid of and is a major reason why you're going with traditional publishing, you should probably be aware that you're going to have to do some of it anyway. Thankfully, you will have an agent and an editor and, contact with your publishing house to help you figure out how to do that. Whereas with self-publishing, it's a lot more about independent research and talking to peers. But so that's something that's now becoming a traditional publishing issue as well. But it's, you got to learn how to use social media. You have to learn how to just market yourself and make your book sound super interesting and provocative. And
of course, it's interesting.
Yeah, exactly. And no matter what publishing route you're going, you're still going to have to do that because you're going to find yourself in a situation with someone who's never heard of you, and you're going to want to convince them to read your book, and you're going to have to tell them why it's special and interesting. So, yeah.
That's awesome. So we're talking about the differences between the traditional route of publishing and self-publishing. You can tweet us your questions using the hashtag WWWriting, and we will try our best to answer them. Also, after the show, once we do the recap, I'll be giving you a lot of links tonight. So I'll include all of those links in the recap that you can find on whiskeywineandwriting.com, and anything that Suzanne has as well will be included on there. So it will all be in one neat little place. Okay.
Yeah. Also, super quick, just a public service announcement, which I hope won't affect our audience too much, but in case there's been some misinformation floating around about our Pitch Wars show, which is not tonight, that's tomorrow. Stay with us anyway. But yes,
you can go now.
Yeah, you can go now. If you're waiting for Brenda to ride in on a beautiful unicorn and tell you all the surprises and whatnot, that's not happening tonight. That's tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern time. You can find the video at whiskeywineandwriting.com, and we'll tweet it relentlessly. So definitely, if you have any stake in Pitch Wars whatsoever, or you just want to see a bunch of people get excited over something that you don't know anything about, you should tune in tomorrow. But for now, we're just gonna talk.
We're just gonna talk. Yeah. We had the option of getting guests on, but we think we're fountains of knowledge and we love ourselves, so we're just gonna talk.
Very narcissistic, the two of us.
Yeah. So, do make sure that you don't miss that show tomorrow night, because there are some exciting things to come, some important things to come, and if you are part of Pitch Wars, you do not want to miss it. So if you're over here and like me, you've got to tune in at 1 a.m. Tune in at 1 a.m. You will not want to miss it. So I stay up, you can too. Yeah. So we were just talking about marketing, but I want to go back a bit to before you decide to market and all that. I want to go back to the decision to take which route. So there are a lot of misconceptions surrounding self-publishing. Some people think that people do it because they've exhausted all other avenues. So they think that the only way they're ever going to get their book out there is to self-publish. And I say that, hello, quad wallet. That's not true. I queried one agency prior to self-publishing my book. I did take part in Pitch Wars last year. My manuscript was a complete mess at the moment. You've heard me say it so many times. It was a complete mess at that moment. It wasn't ready. But through a lot of hard work from a lot of people, it was ready to be released last December, I think. Yeah, last December. But I chose to self-publish because I like to work. I say by myself, but there was actually a lot of people that helped writing it, but I didn't want to have to query and wait, and I didn't want to have to, this sounds really bad, but I didn't particularly want to have to change anything about the story, because I felt that I'd written it the way I wanted to write it, and I just wanted to go off by myself and do my own thing, and I was happy that way. Whereas a lot of people choose to traditionally publish, and that's that's okay. It's okay to self, it's okay to traditionally publish. So Suzanne, why do you want to traditionally publish? I want to know.
Sure. So the decision for me was kind of easy, in the sense that I'm a very like future and career oriented person, which, just disclaimer, everything I say here, any of this can also apply to self-publishing, but this is just me and my journey and my reasons. I would like eventually to be somebody who can at least sort of support themselves on their fiction writing. I know, way lofty goal. But I know, after doing a lot of research on the industry and stuff, and, the role that agents play in brokering book deals and so on and so forth, like, I knew that I needed somebody who was going to be able to, like, make sense of publishing contracts and know how to negotiate, good deals, so that I, not to be a money grubbing person, but so that I get like a decent payoff, and, my intellectual properties and stuff are protected and so on and so forth. It's not a process that I really want to go through by myself. So the idea of having an agent is super appealing to me in that respect. And also, I am a sucker for like this idea of publishing with like one of the big 5 or 6, and, having my book be distributed out to the widest amount of people possible, with a marketing team that's not going to be like me and like just tweet pictures of cats all the time.
That's salad.
Yeah, exactly. So, I want a couple more hands on deck, personally, in my process. And just like, I can always hire editors and stuff like that, but I definitely, as an editor myself, I have a deep appreciation for the seasoned editor, the editor who's read every kind of drivel and crap you can imagine, who's been doing it for 25 years. Like, they really know their stuff. And yeah, I want my hand held, and I wanted it to be, patted on the head and told I'm special. And so that's more or less why I'm doing it.
You are
Thank
special.
you. Thank you.
I just want to actually briefly touch on something that you just said, and that was about the big 5 publishers getting your book out there into the world. So we're talking about into the bookstores, into Barnes and Noble, over here Waterstones, W.H. Smith. If you decide to self-publish, the likelihood of that going to happen is extremely slim. You're unlikely to get into any of the brick and mortar stores, regardless of what the print-on-demand companies are saying. They have expanded distribution, and you can go here, there, and everywhere. That might be the case. They can take orders from brick and mortar stores, but brick and mortar stores don't generally order self-published books. So you have to take that into account. The market for self-published books is ebooks. I found that I have sold thousands of ebooks, whereas paper copies, I haven't even hit 100 paper copies. Whereas thousands and thousands of ebooks have gone off the shelf. So that's your market, and you do need to know that market. So you could spend an awful lot of time going through different services, because there's obviously the big ones, which is Ingram Spark and Amazon CreateSpace, and they both promise expanded distribution. The books do go out and they can be ordered, but it's unlikely that it's going to happen. So you need to research that, and if you really want to get it into the bookstores, if you find a way, let me know. I don't know. Also, another thing that you're unlikely to do is to get your book into libraries. I haven't heard of many people that have been able to do it. I did get contacted from someone, my friends on Facebook, to say that my book turned up at Cheshire Library, which is very far away in my country, but very far away. I have no idea how that happened. It's now at my local library as well. No idea how that happened, but the likelihood of it happening is slim. So maybe take your book to the library, see if they'll put it on the catalogue. I don't know how mine ended up there. It's a mystery. But you have got to be aware that you're unlikely to get it into those stores. So just be very aware.
I mean, and of course there are like the very very, very, very major exceptions, like 50 Shades of Grey and things like that, that started off self-published and are now no longer. But I would encourage you, if you are thinking about self-publishing, to go and research the story of like how 50 Shades of Grey blew up to the extent that it did, because it's like a fascinating anthropological story. Like basically a group of moms, and I think Long Island, are solely responsible for this happening to 50 Shades of Grey. But yeah, just to, read the stories of like other self-publishing books that have gone really, really big. And if that's something like an idea that you're really attached to, like research the circumstances in which that happened and understand that they're incredibly rare. And that's not me like getting down on self-publishing, like it's just the reality, again, because of that key tool, which is marketing.
Yeah.
If you're a great marketer, the world's your oyster. If you're not, it's something to think about.
I suck at marketing. But also another thing, because you mentioned 50 Shades of Grey there, so I want to talk about that, and I want to talk about other big books that have hit the shelves.
And at some point we have a question.
Somebody did have a question, didn't they?
Yes. Do you want to do that, or?
I can't pronounce it. I can never pronounce names. Can you pronounce that name?
I'm gonna butcher it, but I'm thinking it's like, oh man, this is sad. Archie Jaswal.
Writing where I inevitably pronounce every name incorrectly.
Yeah.
Well, he wants to know, do agents consider non-American writers for representation? Any pros and cons? Yes, they do. Pros and cons, I have no idea. I honestly don't know. Suzanne, any idea?
Well, I know that from my experience personally, because I live in the US, like the one thing I do know is that plenty of agents outside of the US will not consider American authors, just because of their knowledge, like they don't have the same knowledge of the market. As for non-American writers, I'm pretty positive that most agents are cool with that. You have to check their submission guidelines, or drop them an email, send them a tweet, and figure it out. But I think generally speaking, the only reservation that some people have is like trying to sell books in different countries. But if you're trying to sell your book in the United States and you approach an agent in the United States, that really shouldn't be a problem. So yeah, definitely just like do your research. And unless an agent explicitly says no international submissions, go for it. The worst thing they could do is say no.
Yeah, actually, touching on that, when I wrote Fractured Immortal, and for anyone that's read it, you can tell very clearly from my accent that I'm British, but the book is based in America and it's written in US English, so like all my spellings and that are US English, so that's something to consider as well. So if you're in England and you're writing a book based in America, I think for me it was important for me to use US English. I don't know if that's a given thing, but that was important to me because I was writing using American culture. So I think it was important that I use the correct spelling and the correct words for that. So I can't remember what I was talking about before that, can you?
50 Shades of Grey.
Grey! Yeah, because I don't know if anybody's noticed. I think everybody's noticed. But when a really popular book comes out, like 50 Shades of Grey, Twilight, Lord of the Rings, okay, maybe not Lord of the Rings, but the movies, that cause Hyper Fantasy and Game of Thrones, people will inevitably try to emulate the success of those books with their own, and the likelihood of that happening is even slimmer than the likelihood of you being the first person to write 50 Shades of Grey and getting that out there. It's incredibly slim, so try not to copy the market. And also, if 50 Shades of Grey is popular now and you're writing your book now, by the time you finish writing your book, no one's going to want it. So don't do it. Don't write a book just based on what you think is going to be popular or what is popular right now. So like I wrote Fractured Immortal, which is vampires. The first thing I always get asked, not so much now, but the first thing I always get asked after writing is it like Twilight? Yes, it's got vampires in it. No, it's not like Twilight. It doesn't irritate me that people think it does, but it's irritating that every single book afterwards has been compared to that, because that's just what comes to mind. And what's most irritating is that so many people wrote vampire books because of Twilight, or wrote erotic books because of Grey, and so the market became saturated with it. And for a self-publisher, when the market becomes saturated with books, you'll find that not all of those books are written well. So it's sort of like a kick in the teeth that those books are out there and they're not written very well. Well, you know, where other people are trying to work their asses off and they're paying editors and, you know, different sorts of editors, they're paying for this, that, and the other thing. I don't know where I was going with this.
I don't know, but I have a question for you.
No.
No? Okay.
Yeah.
So I was wondering if you, as someone who's self-published and has like had some decent success, like if you could touch on, you know, how we have some of these titles these books that, you know, blow up in success and are kind of like anomalies in the self-publishing world, and like, you know, all of like the exceptional nature of those things, and then like what the average self-publishing experience looks like what's the more realistic thing to expect. Yeah.
Grim. It's grim. Your realistic expectation for a self-publisher is like, okay, so if you just write your book and you release it onto Amazon and you don't market it, you can be like, you'll sell maybe none. Most likely none. You'll sell none. So it's got to be well written. You've got to market it, and if you can do all those things, then you've got a good shot. But if you're not going to, then none. As for how to make it successful, I don't know. I know that I have had success with mine. Most of my success I put down to the advertisers, actually. So recently, the midlist advertised for me, and I'm going to talk about the midlist later because they are freaking awesome, and that really blew everything up. So it's marketing. It's all in the marketing. As long as you've got to write a good book, but it's all in the marketing. But as for how it blows up, like, great, I don't know. If anybody knows, if you could let me know, I'd be really grateful. And hopefully I'll own a jet plane by tomorrow or something.
Yeah.
I'd love to know, what is the secret? Where's those ladies? Have you got the phone numbers for those ladies in Long Island?
No, but I'll look into it.
Get their addresses. I've got some books. I don't know. I wish I could give an answer. I don't know.
I think a lot of it is just like finding a need in the community and like harping on it, because there's that other one, which of course now I cannot remember what it's called. I'm going to quickly Google it, but it originally started as One Direction fan fiction, and is now super popular. Hold on, I'm opening up the Rolling Stone article. I am not good. I'm not a good host. Okay, yeah, it's called After by Anna Todd, which now has, I believe it started on Wattpad, actually. And this woman has received a 6-figure book deal now to write a whole series based on this story that was originally a fan fiction about a pop star. And that is an incredible story, but again, is one in literally a million.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, because I put a chapter. I think a chapter Fractured Up on Wattpad. I took it down again. I might still be on there. I don't know, but I think it's had about 2 views.
Got it.
So, but I think there's a forums over there and that where you can interact with each other. So I think if you interact a lot, you'll get more readers. But I go via different avenues. So I interact via those. So we've had a question. I can't find it.
I have it.
Thank you. Can you ask the question, please?
So our question is from the dear Natasha Rollerson, who is one of our hosts who's usually on, but she's not today. So you have the two of us goons instead. Mm-hmm. Her question is, what are some common misconceptions about self-publishing being easier than traditional publishing?
That is a good question. And I think, well, I know Tasha knows the answer to this, but it's for the benefit of others. It's not easy. In no way, shape, or form is it easy. Like, all right, I don't have to query, and I don't have to write, and I don't have to wait for months on end to find out if I've been rejected or anything like that. I don't have to deal with rejection from the agent. But it's so much work, and it all rests. Although you've got your people that have helped you do it, the success or the failure of the book rests completely on my shoulders. So it's not an easy route. No, it takes a lot of hard work. It can cost a lot of money. I was lucky, mine didn't, but it can cost a lot of money, and it's not an easy way out. If you publish your book because you've exhausted all other avenues, and you publish your book only for that reason, then that is the wrong reason. You've got to want to do it. You've got to. I love the indie author world. I have so many friends that are indie published with varying degrees of success, and it's a choice that we've made. It's not something that we've done because we tried to get published and we didn't. So that is a major misconception, that people have self-published because they couldn't get it published any other way. That's utter rubbish. I swear, that's rubbish. It's a choice that we make. And you'll also find that there are a lot of hybrid authors now. So they have traditionally published and now they self-publish, because owning your own book appeals to a lot of people. So nothing about your book gets changed by an editor unless your other editor sits down, but you don't have to change it, whereas you may have to change it another way. So everything is yours. I'm not signing over the rights of my book to anybody either, so I like that. But I go way off track when I'm answering questions. Never interview me. It's rubbish. But that's a massive misconception, that people only do it because they've tried to traditionally publish and have failed. That's bull.
Yeah, and just to echo what you said, self-publishing is, I can understand for authors who are if you're trying to go the traditional route, stick with it. I think that's the most important thing. And if you're of course you can definitely change your mind, but self-publishing is not something that should be used as everybody hates me and this is never going to get published any other way, so I'm just going to self-publish, because that's actually really disrespectful to the people who self-publish because they just want some more control and want to be more independent, because these people are sitting and actually hiring editors and going through their stuff multiple times. It's not like they wrote trash and then sent it out and then got rejected and we're like, okay, well, nobody else is going to publish this, so let me just throw my manifesto onto the internet. It's hard work. So when people who have been rejected by agents or editors and stuff just throw their book on Amazon just because, and don't ask themselves questions about hey, why are you getting rejected? Or, hey, have you really fully read your manuscript multiple times and been through revisions? Is there anything else you can do? Have you looked into hiring an outside editor? Have you looked into a critique partner or a beta reader, so on and so forth? Then you're just putting shitty work out into the world. Mm-hmm. And there's a great graphic that gets circulated on Twitter once a week in the writing community, which is a flow chart for people specifically going through the self-publish or the traditional publishing process, about what happens with these two different kinds of authors. One of them, writes a book, sends it out into the world, gets rejected, and immediately self-publishes and never learns from their mistakes. And then the other one, tries to get traditionally published, and when it doesn't work, they write a new manuscript, and then another one, and then another one, until finally they've ironed out their own writing issues, mm-hmm. and do get published and do end up doing what they want. So self-publishing should not be treated as a giving up kind of thing. It's disrespectful to the people who really value it and who are trying to keep it a legitimate space. That's how the books that E.L. was talking about, the ones that are not very good, that are in the mess with your very good book, that's how those things happen.
Yeah. Another misconception about self-publishing is that it's going to make you bucket loads of money, that you're going to publish your book on Amazon one day, and the next day the money's going to start rolling in. That's not going to happen. It's not a money maker. It's not like these pyramid selling schemes where you find people to pay you for rubbish. You put your book out there, first you've got to make sure it's good, and second you've got to know how to market it. It's a lot of hard work. You can't just put it out there and hope for the best. It's not going to work. It's not a quick money maker. It's not a money spinner in any way. So we are halfway through the show. So we're talking about the differences between traditional and self-publishing and the different avenues that you can take. We're going to touch on small press in a minute. If you've got any questions, you can hashtag us with Whiskey, Wine and Writing. No, you can't. It's WW Writing. And we will answer your questions.
Yes.
Salam.
So let's see. So did you want to talk about small publishers or did you want to get into resources?
Well, I will talk a little bit about small presses first, and then we'll go into the resources that I've got ready for the people who want them. So small presses. I have read a lot of small press because I actually work one with my friends Kate and Sharon, and we have been going through all the contracts at the moment with Kate. I say we. Kate's done it all with the lawyers and that, getting them all sorted. But before we started Lake Water Press, I did a lot of research, and I found that a lot of small presses had bad names because they were just doing everything wrong. I went on to Author Beware, and if you go on there, that's an awesome resource. You've got to go on there. If you're thinking of going for a small press, go on Author Beware. Make sure that they're not listed under there. Do your research, and because there are some absolutely fantastic ones out there. Entangled started off with a small press, Roots small press. So there are some awesome ones out there. So they're absolutely worth you checking out, worth you querying to if you want to do that. I encourage it. So, Suzanne.
Are we talking about small presses or? Okay, small presses. Yeah, so traditionally speaking, you are totally welcome to query small presses generally. I mean, obviously check their submission guidelines to see, some of them have submission periods where they'll look at unsolicited stuff, and some of them don't. The only thing that is worth mentioning here is that you need to not do them simultaneously for a lot of reasons. And there are some wonderful things out in the world that have been written, some great blog posts about why you shouldn't do this. Basically, what I can boil it down to in like 2 sentences is that when you query agents and small presses at the same time, it can leave a bad taste in one or the other's mouth, because say that you have a full with an agent and you also have a full with a small press. Specifically for a small press, generally speaking, when they're making decisions about who to offer book deals to, they have to go through a bunch of different rounds of talking to people and different people reading your manuscript and stuff. And so when you have an editor who's done that, and then suddenly an agent comes and you talk with them through the process, and you sign that, either you sign the deal or you're about to sign the deal, and then an agent decides to call you and give you an offer, and you go with that because it's the sexier, more like lucrative option, generally speaking, you put a bad taste in editors' mouths. And also vice versa, if you have stuff out with agents and then suddenly you nudge them all because you say, oh, I have an offer from a small press, generally speaking, agents will not run to read your manuscript after that, because small presses just aren't really on their radar a lot of the time. So that puts a bad taste in their mouth too, because then they request the material and they're missing out on book deals and clients. So what ends up happening, and this is the thing that really sucks, is that there are people like Brenda Drake and Michelle Hawk and Heidi Norad and all these wonderful people who run these querying competitions and stuff. And a lot of these competitions invite agents and small pubs to participate. And because of issues with one or the other, they won't do competitions anymore. There are a lot of agents and publishers who will not participate anymore, and that means that a lot of people are missing out on great connections. So if we want those things to keep happening, and if we want great things like PitMad and all the other ones, and all these other wonderful things where we have the publishing community come together to like find new talent, you need to conduct yourself professionally and not query both of these at the same time. Find the one you want first. If you want an agent more than you want a small pub, query agents thoroughly, revise, so on and so forth. And then if that doesn't work and you find yourself open to small pub, then do that, or vice versa, but never do both at the same time.
There's a common theme here that you need to pick your route and stick to your route. So I chose self, and that is what I have done like a demon for the last nearly 2 years. Suzanne has chosen to traditionally query, and that is what she has been doing. It's sending her crazy. So if she has a little flid out, just ignore her. Fine. Yep. And if you want to go for small press, then go for small press. Just choose what you want to do and go for it. So we've got a question again from Tasha saying, how important do you think a platform is for self-publishing versus traditional? I think that it's important to have a platform for both now. Like with Suzanne earlier saying about the economy, the US economy and the layoffs within the publishing houses, and authors having to do a lot of the marketing themselves and sort of gathering their own readers. It's really important for both. Is it more important as self-published? I guess I don't think it's more important. I think it's as important that you do that you know how to gather those readers, to put yourself out there and just make yourself available. So if somebody reads a book and they like it and they've never heard of you and they want to know more, you're easily accessible. You're not a mysterious void within the internet. They can pull up your page, they can find out more about you. It's beneficial if you've got any other books, because they'll find those and hopefully they'll read those, and you gain a reader hopefully for the life of your writing career. So I think it's important for both. Is that?
Yeah, I think it's important regardless. I will say that I think honestly it's a little more important for people who self-publish, if and only because of the fact that at least when you're publishing traditionally, there is some semblance of a marketing department. And you will also have a publisher who will tweet out things about you and put stuff about you on their website, as well as an agency. So that's the only difference. But really, generally speaking, we're in a very digital era and a very social media and social networking era. So having a good quality and clean and professional social media presence is very important either way. If you're going to attach your name to something, everything else you attach your name to has to reflect how you want your work to be interpreted. That's what I will say. When you get super famous, then you can have all the Twitter meltdowns you want. But until then.
Yeah, because I've got to say that like if you look across any of my social platforms, my picture is the same, because you are your brand. So you've got to represent yourself in the way that you want yourself to come across to the readers. So I write paranormal romance, contemporary romance. So a lot of my blog posts will be about those sort of things. A lot of the people that I speak to read those sort of books, and we talk about that a lot. I'm waffling again. I don't know where I'm going with this. Tasha, shoot me. So yeah, well, I am my own brand. So I've got to make sure that my presence is sort of uniform across the scale, and that people can click on my Twitter, from my Twitter then get to my blog, click on my blog from my blog then get to my Twitter, my Facebook, everything. There's all one nice sphere that leads back to each other, and it all contains the information that I want it to contain. So I've got some resources that I want to share with people, because Suzanne, you asked earlier how I have found my little bit of success with self-publishing, and I am going to tell everybody. I found through actually friends, the first thing that I did was I made friends, and I never thought that those friends would come in useful or anything. To me, they were just friends. You don't make friends because you think, oh, you're going to be useful in the future. They were just friends. I know a lot of people that have self-published, and from them I have found websites that are beneficial. That they've passed to me. I've passed information to them as well, and now I'm going to pass it to anyone who has who wants to self-publish. So the first website that I'm going to talk about is BookBub, and I think whether you're going for traditional self, many people have heard of BookBub because it has the potential to make a lot of people more successful than they thought they could be. But so if you're a self-publisher, you can advertise on BookBub from if your book is free to up to $2, I think. They can be pricey, so their prices start off at $55 if your book is free, and I think that's like middle grade or something like that, and they can go all the way up to $2,250 to advertise your book. So, but if you advertise with them, you can do really well. But it's very difficult to get picked up by them, so they're really picky about what they'll take on. And they don't just because you pay your money for the advert, they won't just advertise it. You have to submit your book, whether or not they want to promote it, and then you pay the money. So, but if you want to check them out, they are at .com. So it's bookpub.com. I'll put all this up on the review afterwards. Another one is eReader News Today. They also cost money to advertise, so you can go to them. That is where is that? Yeah, it's just eReaderNewsToday.com. But the one that I want to really talk about is Midlist, because the Midlist was formed by a bunch of writers that came together to help advertise, and they are the people that I contacted to advertise Fractured Immortal, and they are responsible for it getting to #1 in several subgenres last week, and getting to, I don't know what it peaked at. Last time I checked, it was 84 overall in the Kindle charts, Kindle free charts. I don't know if it went any higher or lower. I stopped checking because I was hyperventilating. But they are very much similar to BookBub, whereas you have to ask them to advertise. You have to submit. They will then go and check out. They will look for things like the way your book is written. So they'll take a look at that. Maybe how many reviews you've got. Very much like BookBub. BookBub want reviews before they'll advertise. But and like Tasha was saying, your social media presence, they have to see that you have been out there promoting your work, that you've not just thrown a book out there, you're saying, here, advertise this. And they also, one of the things that they want, that they say that they look for, is they want to advertise books that they believe has bestseller potential, but just hasn't been found. And the cost for the Midlist doing this, the cost to the author for the Midlist doing all of this work, getting your book out there, getting thousands of copies downloaded, cost to the author is nothing. They don't charge you anything. They are amazing. So you absolutely must check those people out. Sign up to their newsletter, download their books, help keep them going, because they are really awesome. So they are the three big ones. So they're the three big people that you can advertise through. I will include all of that on the recap. So along with the web addresses. So that one is there, www.themidlist.com. And we've got a question through. I've lost it. Suzanne, could you read it for me, please?
Yes, this is from Jake Devlin. When indie publishing and doing a promo, how can you judge the many offers to do promos for you? For example, from Fiverr, etc.
There's a really good resource on Fiverr, which myself and Jake have used. It's called Book Nights. They have the potential to get you quite a lot of downloads as well. Not quite on par with Midlist, but Jake, I'm actually going to contact you about that, so we can talk about that, because I have interesting information for you. So the Fiverr is a good place. It does only cost $5, and Book Nights will get downloads for you. But I will say about Fiverr that if you go on there, and you will see a lot of people saying, I will promote your book on Kindle, your book on my popular blog, or I will promote your book on my popular Facebook page, or on my Twitter account with 50 million gazillion followers. Don't buy them unless you've researched them, because I looked at one blog and I said, I asked for a blog address, and I put the blog address through to see how much traffic the blog gets, and the blog didn't really get much traffic at all. My blog got more traffic. So just be really wary. Don't go for the first deal that you see. You've got to research it. You've got to research everything. Like, so if you're looking to traditionally publish, you want to research your agents. You want to know which agent you want to query to, which agent might be interested in your work. And it's the same with the indie publishing. You want to research the people that claim that they can market your book, because not every claim has any substance behind it. So you have to do your research. So I think that answers that question.
You did.
Suzanne, have you got anything to add? I just like hearing your voice.
Yeah, I can talk about traditional resources.
Please do.
I came up with a list super quick. So Let's see where to begin. So the first resource that I think is really important to have if you're pursuing traditional publishing is getting yourself a subscription to Publishers Marketplace.
Mm-hmm.
I know that it's a little expensive. I believe it's $25 a year. I don't remember. I have it and I don't even know.
That
Look
like
into it.
can you share a membership with someone, or is that like an individual?
I think you can give someone your login information, I think.
We do not encourage that.
No, you shouldn't do that. I don't know that you can share your membership with somebody, but the reason the Publishers Marketplace is invaluable is because it's basically the go-to guide for everything that's happening in the traditional publishing business, and also digital publishing, which let's not forget that. So definitely, if you can spare the money or you can convince somebody to gift it to you, pursue that because it has definitive information on agents, on agencies, on publishers, editors, so on and so forth. And they also email you all of the deals that have been done every single day directly into your inbox. And that's and categorized by genre and with a separate section for debut. So if you want to know what's doing well in the market right now, that's a great resource. What else? So going all the way back to like the infancy of your traditional publishing process, which is querying. Query Shark is the most invaluable. It's an invaluable querying resource. It's probably the best query site out there. Janet Reed is amazing. She basically accepts submissions of queries and rips them up on her website. Yeah, she rips them up multiple times and will work with anonymous authors on shining up their query, and she develops some hard and fast rules through doing that. So if you're querying or writing a query letter and you haven't read Query Shark back to front, take some time and do it. It goes pretty fast, and the advice that she gives is invaluable. So definitely do that. What else? Also, if you're looking to kind of get into an agent's head and see what agents are thinking about when they review submissions and what works for them and what doesn't, Susie Townsend from New Leaf Literary has an amazing blog called Confessions of a Wandering Heart, where she answers questions from writers all the time and talks about her her slush pile and how many things she requests from what genre, so on and so forth. And she's very transparent, and she has brokered some major deals and has some very large clients. So that's someone definitely to look into. I would also be remiss not to mention Brenda Drake. Is an amazing resource.
Bow down to the Brenda.
Yes, bow down to the Brenda, and not just because she does all these fun competitions, but partially because she does all these fun competitions. Brenda is basically the queen of making connections in the publishing industry. She has all kinds of opportunities for people to receive critiques and editing, and also to connect with agents and publishers through contests and other means. So if you have not visited her website, I believe it's brenda-drake.com. Definitely look into that. Follow her on Twitter. Give her a hug. Send her some chocolate.
She's the sweetest woman on the face of this earth, I'm sure of it.
Yeah. She's incredibly selfless, and she puts every spare moment of energy, but after being a mom and also having books and so on and so forth, into making publishing a fun and easier place for all of us. So that is definitely something.
And I think this is really important as well. She has amazing hair, so.
Yes, she also does have amazing hair. I'm almost done, I promise. Margarita Montemore, who is the Pitch Wars mentor, is also an excellent resource. I discovered her actually by being in Pitch Wars. Her blog is really excellent. And she does, query critiques and so on and so forth. Definitely read through all of her stuff. And then there's two more. Writer's Digest. If you're not subscribed to Writer's Digest, if you're not looking at their workshops and reading their articles and attending their conferences and so on and so forth, definitely do that. They put out basically a definitive guide to agents every year, hard copy, and also I think maybe digital. So that's definitely somebody to keep in mind. And their workshops are also great. I did a first 10 pages workshop with them where I had an agent work with me for, I think it was like a month on my first 10 pages. And it was really excellent experience for me. And then the very last one is querytracker.net, which is a handy dandy little database that helps you keep all of your querying and submissions straight, which is really important, especially because you don't want to accidentally query the same agent twice or two agents within the same agency. And
awkward.
It's super awkward. And they also break down agents by genre. So that's a great resource if you've written like a fantasy novel, for example, and you don't know who takes fantasy and you want it all organized nice and neatly in one place. Query Tracker has a fairly large database. It's certainly not definitive by any means. There are plenty of agents who are not on it, but there are also tons who are. So go on there and make an account. It's free. There are premium options, which just help you become more of like a neurotic stalker, because you can like actually plot out the data of like when agents respond and all this nonsense. But the free service is totally excellent and totally awesome. And now I'm thinking of two more people you should think about, especially if you write science fiction or fantasy, are Dan Cobalt and Nat Russo. Find them on Twitter, follow them, read their websites, both excellent, awesome stand-up dudes who really put a lot of information out there and just want writers to win. So yeah, that's it.
Nat Russo was what I think he might have been I think he was first or second of the first or second writer to follow me on Twitter when I came in as a screaming little baby.
Which one?
When I first burst onto the scene, crawled on quietly to Twitter, and his website is so full of so much awesome information, and he even has graphs of reports of his Kindle promotions and how he got, how he's done as well as he has. So you really need to go there and have a read and listen to the information he provides, because he does it for free. He doesn't have to, but it's all there for you to read, and it is more than worth its weight in gold. Suzanne, we have 8 minutes left, and I want to talk to you about, and I want you to tell the viewers about, so you are traditionally querying.
Yes.
And while you're traditionally querying, you are taking advantage of these awesome opportunities that are available on Twitter, such as Pitch Wars, SFF Pit, Nightmare on Query Street. Can you tell me more about your experiences with that, and why you do it? Why do you do these competitions and not just go straight to agents? I want to
know. Sure. So I honestly, the first pitch competition that I ever was made aware of was PitMad. I happened to notice it just like the influx of tweets and stuff, and I was like, oh, what is this? Like, this is really interesting. And I looked into it, and I was like, well, I want to do that. For the uninitiated, PitMad is just like a Twitter pitch competition where you pitch your book. I think it's like twice an hour for 12 hours with different pitches, obviously. But basically, agents will go through Twitter, through the PitMad feed, and favorite things that they want to see more of. So everyone has different preferences, but that's generally what happens. And the reason that I have been doing pitch competitions is because I found that they do super well. For me personally, I have received a ton of really awesome requests from pitch competitions. I think that it's a fun and interesting way to put together package your content, because there is like the slush pile and everything, but sometimes, the tweet, like at 140 characters, if you can craft a really solid teaser or a log line for your story, that will catch somebody's attention a lot faster. And it's, there's a little more instant gratification. It's fun. It tests the ways that how you can market your story, which for me, being a social media professional, I was really interested in trying to learn how to promote my, 120,000 some odd word manuscript in 140 characters. And I did it, and it was awesome. And I'm trying to think of what else. Also, the really cool thing about pitch competitions is the community.
Mm-hmm.
so many writer friends, because unfortunately, while there are hundreds of thousands of us in the slush pile at any given moment, we can't like look at each other and be like, wow, this is really fucked up, right? Or something, you know, because you can't like be in the agent's inbox, if only, but you can't. So Twitter, these Twitter competitions and things like Pitch Wars and, you know, the stuff where you can actually network with people who are going through the same thing that you are, they're awesome. So if anything at all, one of the coolest payoffs is just like meeting other writers and like having and like retweeting each other during Twitter pitch competitions and like commiserating in the form of gifts during like things like Pitch Wars when the mentors are being sneaky and everything else. It's like, that's awesome. So that's like the very long answer to your very simple question.
I like that answer. I took part in Pitch Wars last year, and from Pitch Wars, I've harped on about this so many times on Whiskey Wine and Writing, but I'm going to do it again. And that's how I met Tasha, the host of Whiskey Wine and Writing. That's how I met. She's my critique partner, and Kathleen Palm and Diana Pingwisha. We all met via Pitch Wars. Same with my editor Kate Foster. We met via Pitch Wars. So it's an awesome opportunity to meet other people. And to go for the ultimate goal of getting your manuscript picked by a mentor, getting it honed and sharpened by a mentor, and hopefully, you know, it will go in front of agents, hopefully getting picked up by an agent. But that is the goal at the end of the rainbow. But the people that you meet along the way and the experiences that you have, they are so beneficial. Such an awesome thing to do. So don't forget, tomorrow, tune in tomorrow. Brenda's on the show, is that right?
Yes, that is right.
So make sure you tune in tomorrow to watch that, because she's got some surprises. So if you're taking part in Pitch Wars, that is what you have to do. If you don't, then you're missing out. So tune in.
Yes, and make sure you watch our Twitter, because I'll likely have a meltdown at some point in time.
I'm going to stay up just to watch you.
Oh, man.
You would take over live tweeting at that point.
Yeah, someone's gonna have to take the wheel. Either, no matter what happens. I don't know what the surprise is. I have like my theories, but whatever. I'm not gonna ruin it.
I have no idea, but I want to find out, so I'll be watching just so that I know.
Yes, and then you can see me melt down on Twitter about whatever it is.
Yeah. It might be something really exciting. Well, it's definitely going to be something exciting, but it might be something really fun. So that is exciting. Shut up, Emma.
Yeah, don't. I know that you know things.
I don't know anything.
Anyway,
I don't do nothing.
Yeah, so we have 3 minutes left. I don't know if we want to.
Right, for the last 3 minutes, I just want to quickly touch on. I've got loads of content here that I didn't include. So one of the big things, I don't know if you've got a Facebook account and you're friends with authors, then at some point during the day, you'll probably be plagued by about 50 million, thousand, billion, trillion invites to Facebook takeover parties. And that is where an author promoting their book goes onto Facebook, and loads of authors get together and they do cool things. They do giveaways, they give away prizes, or they do fun games, things like that. For a self-publisher, they are really good fun to take part of, but their success rate is, like, as to garner new readers, is quite low. So if you want to do that, that's great. Go for it. It's so much fun, but don't expect to become a bestseller from doing that. Another thing that people do a lot of is blog tours. Again, they're great to take part in, you know, because your book goes out into loads and loads and loads of different blogs. But don't forget that the internet is saturated in books. The book market is saturated in books. So for every, you know, your book is out there along with millions of others. So again, it's not a major way to get sales and to find new readers. So you really want to go and look at those promotional sites that I have given you. I will include them on the recap tomorrow so that you can see them. So I just want to say thank you to everybody for joining us. Suzanne, want to say bye?
What?
Want to say bye?
I can't. You're like breaking up on the online thing. I can't.
Say bye.
Oh, say bye. Bye.
Thank you.
I feel like a toddler.
Don't forget to join Whiskey Wine and Writing tomorrow, 8 p.m. EST, for lots of exciting stuff. Thank you, everybody. Good night. Goodbye.
Bye.